testes is the passage of the sperms from the epididymis, the vas differences, then the ejaculatory duct, and then outside. So if there's any obstruction at the level, at any level from the epididymis to the vas deferens, ejaculatory duct, then it can lead to the blockade and transport of the sperm is effective. Primary hypogonadism. This primary hypogonadism means there is decreased production of the FSH and LH. And last but not the least, obesity. As you see, it's in red in color. So this obesity per se is the major problem for the males of fertility, and this obesity can affect not only the quantity of the sperms, also the quality. It could cause the effects on the ectosomal cap, ectosome. So, and the cause of this obesity disease is the junk food. So that's why I put in the red that the obesity, if it's the person, if only work on the person's weight, obese persons come to the clinic with complaints of the subfertility and semen analysis as borderline or some low, there's no need for any treatment for that person. Just ask him to reduce weight, have healthy diet, and it will improve the sperm count. So hypogonadism is the Kallmann syndrome. Kallmann syndrome is self-explanatory. There's decreased secretion of the FSH and LH, and if FSH and LH is not there, there's no production of the sperm. Prader-Willi syndrome. Usually, that person or the person with the Prader-Willi syndrome has problem of eating. They have excessive eating, and that leads to obesity, and then that leads to the obesity. Prader-Willi syndrome is indirectly because the hypogonadism. Lawrence-Boudel-Moon-Beidel syndrome, again, the same problem is for the fertility, there is reduced production of the FSH and LH. Pituitary insufficiency. If there is any tumor, craniopharyngiomas, pituitary adenomas, or trauma to the person, if there is a roadside accident, and that accident can cause damage to the pituitary gland, that can lead to the pituitary insufficiency. Metastasis. Metastasis on a tumor. That what will metastasis will do? That cause the decreased production or damage to the pituitary and pituitary insufficiency. Hemochromatocyte deposition of the fats and in the pituitary gland. Hypergonadotrophic testicular failure. As you see in the female, there's a hypogonadotrophic and hypergonadotrophic, then in the ovarian causes. Similarly, their pituitary do produce FSH and LH, and they are and anorgasm means there is no fetus. Either it could be by birth, there is a trauma to the testes, or there is a torsion that as in the ovarian cyst you have seen, or you have known there's a torsion, and torsion can lead to the reduced blood production, ischemic necrosis, and that organ or is damaged. So similarly, the mechanism is in the testes, and torsion because of damage to the testes. Mumps or caries at any age. Usually, mumps or caries affects on the at the childhood. So there are caries, it will lead to damage of the testicular tissue or Sertoli cells, and they were unable to produce adequate amount of the sperms. Well, in these days, the mumps is the incidence of the mumps or caries or the mumps is reducing as there is immunization against the mumps. Gonadal dysgenesis. Again, this is congenital. That is the testes is not completely produced at the time of intrauterine growth. Cryptorchidism, the testes is not descended, and it's in either in the endocrine canal or somewhere stuck in the endocrine canal. And what will happen if the testes is not descended? The spermatogenesis needs reduced temperature as compared to the body temperature. So that's why if the testes is at the level of the body temperature or they are inside the body, they will not produce sperms. And so this leads to the hypergonadotrophin. Both FSH and LH are trying to produce the sperms and the testosterone, but as it's, the negative feedback is not working, so there is a gonadotropin increasing, but testes fail to produce sperms and the testosterone. Klinefelter syndrome, Klinefelter anosmia, status inversus, bronchiectasis, and it also have damage to the testes, which can be not sorry. Klinefelter is not an anosmia; it was a feature of the Kalman. We'll see this. Oligoasthenospermia. I mentioned this all in one slide. What all does mean? Because sometimes you are in reports you have seen oligospermia, or sometimes you can see the asthenospermia. Sometimes you can see azoospermia, and one feature in the report is oligoasthenospermia. We will see later on. Oligospermia means if the count of the sperm is less, whatever will be the count, but is reduced as of the normal limited normal upper lower limit count. Asthenia means asthenia, as you know, it's the weakness or tiredness. Asthenospermia means sperm, they are in the semen, but they are not appropriately moving towards, or they are not floating, and their movement is weak. Azoospermia means there's no sperms in the semen, or there's no sperm in the sample. The causes are unknown. It could be autosomal recessive diseases, or it could be the azoospermia factor, or what we call as a Y chromosome deletions in the sperm. So that Y chromosome, because as you know, the Y chromosome is the chromosome that will leads to the XY, or the male part of the male differentiate towards the male part. So if their factor is reduced or damaged or not present in the sperm that make the zygote, so the subsequent or the child born will be azoospermic. So it's now a very big part of in the treatment of the ICSI, or the treatment of the fertile couple, that for the the sperm which are picking by the IVF center, it should not have the azoospermic factor, or they should look for the Y chromosome deletion. Otherwise, the future child will be azoospermic too. So, and we will increasing the, not treating the person, but we will again increasing the number of the subfertile couple in the society. Obstructive azoospermia means the sperms are produced by the testes, but they are unable to bring out, or they are unable to ejaculate it. The commonest cause are the congenital bilateral absence of the vas, differentia, which is the cystic fibrosis, Young syndrome. Similarly, Young syndrome, there's atelectasis, bronchitis, and absence of the vas differences, cartilaginous syndromes. Also, another ciliary syndrome, a person has decreased production of the Banin arms, and there is not the movement of the sperm, do not able to move towards outside. Surgical trauma, there is the, for example, the history of the pelvic surgery, or history for hernia, and it can easily damage the epididymis. Or vasectomy means vasectomy of the person has already gone for the vasectomy, then it will not lead to the, or it will lead to the obstruction, and he will not able to produce the semen outside. Other factors, the oxidative stress and ROS. ROS, the reactive oxygen species, and they are the free radicals. You see the peroxide, oxygen ions, oxygen can go on to become the reactive oxygen species, or the free radicals, and the peroxide which are produced in the testes. They will all cause to the damage to the sperm, and it will not only cause the decrease the reduce in the number of the count, it will also affect the mortality of the sperm. It will also affect the acrosomal cap, and all these oxidative stress is increased by the smoking, obesity, alcohol, infections, acute infection, or chronic infection, or the varicocele. All these can cause, all these factors can increase the amount of the free radicals and peroxides in the testes, and it will lead to the problem with the sperms. Leukosplemia means it shows the infection. In leukosplemia, we will label it if there is more than 10 power 6 leukocytes per ml, and it could be caused by the infection, STIs, chlamydia, gonococcus, uroplasma, cytomegalovirus. So either there is leukosplemia or the person has a history of the discharge, urethral discharge. We should go for the swab of the discharge and treat the person accordingly. Varicocele. Varicocele is the dilatation of the pempiform plexus, or the plexus that is in the left side. You can see how it normally looks like. And what will happen when varicocele? It's dilatation of the pempiform plexus. And what will it affect? It will affect not only the production of the sperm, but it will also lead to the abnormality of the normal sperm, like abnormal formation of the heads, or it will lead, as you shown in the previous slide, it will increase the level of the superoxide reductive or oxygen species in the testicle level. They can, or it will also similarly cause the abnormal function of the acrosome. As you know, acrosomal reaction is mandatory for the penetration of the sperm in the ovum. So all these factors will be caused by the varicocele or the person that is varicose. It's not only the abnormal spermatogenesis, decrease amount of spermatogenesis, but the abnormalities in the shape of the sperms too. Anti-sperm antibodies. Anti-sperm antibodies means there are antibodies against the sperm. But testes do producing the antibodies, but it's after production it was damaged by the antibody. And why it will autoantibodies are formed when there is tighter inter-Sertoli junction. Used Sertoli junctions can lead to cannot lead to the production of the antibodies. It's usually commonest for cause, or usually comes after the vasectomy. So when the vasectomy is performed, this do leakage of the some sperm, and it produces the anti-sperm antibody. Or it could be the genetic factors, like if the person has a HLA-A28, HLA-ABW22. Those persons with these HLAs, they are more prone to produce antibodies against the sperm. And if the antibodies are produced, it means the person is producing the normal amount, but because of the antibodies, they are not effective and they are unable to produce a child or to be fertile. Coital dysfunction and psychosexual disorder. Erectile dysfunctions is self-explanatory. If a person has a problem in the ejaculation, retrograde ejaculation, as as I said previously, the person is taking any medication which will like beta blockers that will unable to have the effects of the sympathetic system on the ejaculation. So he has ejaculation bursts in the urine in the bladder. Premature ejaculation. Premature ejaculation means at the time, before the time of the penetration, or immediately at the time of penetration, and these effects are usually the problem of the patient that the anxiety or the stress. It's not only anxiety is not only problem do cause the problem of the premature, but anxiety and stress also affects the erectile function of the person. So anxiety, stress is the major factor. These are also again for the premature ejaculation or for the erectile dysfunction. So investigations, which investigations we will order for a subfertile couple. In female, if you recall all the representations, this will start with the FSH, FSH level, LH level, FSH, LH, and TSH and prolactin. All these can tell about the pituitary effect or whether pituitary gland is able to produce normal amount of FSH, LH, TSH, and prolactin. But FSH and LH usually be done on the day 2. Those who have attended the clinics, they have seen all the word that the lady has asked to be given FSH and LH on the day 2. Why so? Because FSH and FSH levels are not usually, but it always increasing from day 1 to till the end. In the FSH is gradually increasing from day 2, day 3, day 4, and it will affect on the one follicle or the primordial follicle that will become the reference follicle. And as it produce more estrogen, then FSH will be reducing the mid-cycle. So if you will produce, similarly for the LH, there is LH surge before ovulation, means the ovulation is on day 14 of a 28-day cycle. LH surge will occur 36 hours prior to non-vital. So if we will do the FSH and LH level at any time of the cycle, we don't know. For example, if somebody has comes with the FSH level of 15, so one might label she may have a premature ovarian failure or ovarian failure, as FSH level should not more than 10. Similarly for the LH, if a lady has done the LH level in the mid-cycle or day 21, it could be more because LH or the later of the cycle LH is low under the effect of the progesterone. Therefore, FSH and level should be done on the day 2 when both FSH and level are at the minimum level, and it will have one can easily interpret whether the hormonal levels are producing are adequate or not. However, TSH and prolactin can be done at any time. TSH, as I said, the TSH will tell us about the thyroid gland, and one of the major cause for female cause is thyroid disorders. If either both hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism and prolactin is raised, again it will inhibit the ovulation and estrogen. So these all tests should be done. FSH, LH on the day 2. But when one is given a sample of our FSH on the day 2, so she can also go for the TSH and prolactin. The other test is because for the tube should be patent. If the tube has any obstruction, there is sperm cannot reach there, ovum cannot reach there. So how we will confirm that the tube is patent? It's by simply HSG is a hysterosalpingogram or hysterosalpingography. Hysterosalpingography is the passage of the dye and take the X-rays. If the tube are patent, the dye is still on sides of the tube. These days you may have seen or read the HycoC or the saline sonography, saline histosonography. HycoC is similar like as in hysterosalpingogram, it's a radiological test. In HycoC, we will pass the we will put the dye from cervix, and at the time, real time, do the scan. In the scan, the dye is spilled on both sides, so the tubal patency is confirmed. Other is saline sonography. In saline sonography, it's not the dye, but it's the normal saline, and one can see easily the tubes are getting the saline is passing through the tube and coming out on the female end. Other test is that is also the gold standard is the laparoscopy and the dye test. Laparoscopy is in laparoscopy, you see it's superior to the hysterosalpingography because in laparoscopy dye it's not only the dye that will spill and will confirm the patency of the tube, but in laparoscopy one can also see the pelvic cavity or patient has the endometriosis. She might have a pelvic inflammatory disease that causes the adhesion. So that's why laparoscopy and that is superior to the hysterosalpingography or hypocrisy or saline sonography, it not only tell us about the patency, but it also tell us the any problem in the pelvic cavity. Similar ultrasound, the commonest was for the polycystic ovarian disease, or if there is any uterine fibroid, or especially some mucosal intramural fibroid, then they can cause the either they will have the patient may have the recurrent miscarriages, or it's unable to zygote to be embedded at the site of the fibroids. Then you see antral follicle count. Antral follicle are the follicles that are arrested at this level, and at the time of after the birth, the primordial follicle which will become the free antral, and the time of delivery they are all occurs in the antral follicle. So antral follicle can become in the ovulatory cycle, or at the time during menstruation under effect of the FSH, LH, or estrogen, it will become the Graafian follicle or the mature follicle. So on antral follicle count is again on the day 3 and day 5. These are the small number of follicles, means 2 to 5 millimeters, and if their count it should be 10, it could 10 there. If it's less than, then the person has some problem. Again, there is a time for this intrafollicular count. It cannot be done at any time of cycle. Ovarian volume, as I said earlier, that the lady has an ovarian volume of 11 or more, so it could be a polycystic ovarian disease, or they have the polycystic, if you want to find polycystic ovary, or NP ovarian volume. Anti-Mullerian hormone. Anti-Mullerian hormone is produced by the ovarian and can be done at any time of the ovarian or the menstrual cycle. There is no need for the either day 1, day 2, or day 3, and it will again as a indicator or predictor of the good ovarian or the follicular volume. As the antral follicle is again a good indicator of the ovarian or the ovarian count, or similarly AMH. But AMH superior, that it can be done at any time of the cycle. In male, commonest is the semen analysis. We will see what we are doing the semen analysis. Then after semen analysis, there's similarly FSH level, LH level, serum testosterone. Go for the on the examination by the urologist or andrologist. If there is congenital or the bilateral absence of the vas differences, then one should screen for the cystic fibrosis gene. So other is that there is azoospermia, so we can go for the karyotyping, and if the karyotyping shows the Y chromosome deletion, then this is a factor for the or the cause for the fertility. So in males, semen analysis, FSH, LH, again there's no time for these levels. It can be done at any time. For semen analysis, it should be done after abstinence of at least 3 days and not more than 5 days. If a person has an coitus last night or 1 day back, you cannot order semen analysis today or immediately. One should be taken sample after 3 days of the abstinence or 5 days. If there's more than 5 days, then the report or the count will have some problem, because when there's increase of the time for the deposition of the sperms in the epididymis, they may cause the damage to the sperm head, and the report might show up any abnormality of the head or something else, like infection of the round cell. That's why we should advise a male partner that the abstinence of the coitus for minimum of 3 days and not more than 5 days. So, what is the parameters for the semen analysis? Semen analysis. This is the semen analysis, or the minimum value which has been used these days by the laboratories, and its a reference is the WHO, and it is WHO manual for the examination processing, and it is since 2010 it's been effective. So what we will see in the semen analysis. Semen analysis not only the investigation, but it can also tell you the problems of the which aspect of the semen or the sperm that are the problem. You see the volume should more than 1.5 ml. If the volume, because sperm volume is not only the sperm volume, rather the not only the sperm but also the prostatic secretions and similar secretion on the seminal vesicles. Then sperm concentration minimal or the cutoff value is not less than 15 million per ml. Total sperm count should be more than 39 million. Progressive mortality A plus B mean A means is curvature or the rapid progressive mortality or progressive mortality of the sperm. B is not rapidly progressive, but it's progressive. So it's both are counted, and both type of sperm should not be less than 32%, more than 32%. Sperm count you said there's a 39 million. So one might think that 39 million is enough, but if less than 39 million, label it as oligospermia. If there is no sperm count, then label it azoospermia. And what I said, it's an oligospermia and azoospermia. Similarly, asthenozoospermia, that is what by definition is the tired or weak sperm. Sperms do present in the sample, but they are unable to move rapid progressive, or they are moving but not rapidly but progressive movement. So if they are less than that, asthenia means the sperm are there, they might be shaking at the same place, they are not moving fast, or they are not moving which is required number in the sample. If it is shaking at the moment, so it's not the sperm morphology, mortality should not be the A or plus B, your C or D. So it should be, the report will be progressive sperm mortality. For example, it's 2%, 3%, 20%. These are all the abnormal. Sperm morphology. Morphology means the ectodermal, the head, the tail, and body. It should be of normal. If there's any abnormality in the morphology, that is counted as an abnormal sample. But the morphology means the normal shape, the sperm should be more than 4%. If it's less than 4%, the morphology is inadequate. Many times you may have seen a report in the clinic that person, they are lay person, they said it's normal, it's about 3%. Okay, doctor, I have to say somebody else, some homeopathy doctor, some but it's not normal. If morphology is abnormal or less than 4%, is abnormal. Then other, so DNA fragmentation. The body of the sperm has the DNA, and there's any problem in the DNA, it should be not more than 30%. More than 30% DNA problem, it's an abnormal sample. Live sperms in the sample, when sperm's vitality, it should be 58%. Non-sperm cells, it should be less than 1 million. Non-sperm means round cells, or round cell could be show the infection, or if there is a report shows pus cells or the dead cell, it should not more than 1 million. If they are less than 1 million, there's no need for somebody says infection or like the round cells there, pus cells there, so there's no need for any treatment. And pH should not be less than 7.2. If there is acidic pH, there's some problem at the level of seminal vesicles or prostatic secretion. That are the glands that will lead to the production of the main component of the semen and maintain the pH. Similarly, if you have seen in morphology and total count, so the three more important components which are needed for normal semen assay: the morphology, mortality, and the count. Morphology is should be more than 4%. mortality should be more than 32%, A and plus B, and count should be more than 39 million. If these three are normal, so usually there's no problem with the sample, but anything abnormal in that, then a person can go for the other aspects of the semen analysis. So if we recall, just rephrase or recall the male factors in the sperm, it could be the morphology, it could be the mortality, it could be the low sperm count or oligospermia. Then it's a retrograde ejaculation, hormonal issues means FSH, LH level, or hormonal issues with the persons who are the athletes or those are the bodybuilders, they are taking endogenous injectables, or they can cause the male factors of fertility because of the abnormality of the FSH and LH level or damage at the level of Sertoli cells. Anatomical issues means blockade of the bias differences, congenital absence of the bias, ejaculatory obstruction, or person or erectile dysfunction. Is all of them issues. Person is taking certain drugs, recreational drugs, smoking, alcohol, they will cause damage to the sperms. Medical disorders, common is the diabetes, or chronic renal disorder, or liver disease. They all affect the production of the sperms and quality of the sperm. Similarly, obesity per se can affect both the quality and the quantity of the sperms. Mumps or damage and will lead to the fertility. Lastly, just the general hypertension, the recall of the previous first slides. The obesity, diabetes mellitus, renal disorder, thyroid disorder, acute infection, cycling. Specifically, this is the dress is made of the lycra, and it's caused the it's a very tight and it causes the testes closer to the body. So if the person who is doing cycling is more of the time on the cycle, and the testes is closer to the body temperature is not appropriate for the spermatogenesis. In the male, sulfur salicylene, cimetidine, calcium, all these kind of the deleterious effect on the semen production. Alcohol, anabolic steroids, marijuana, and radioactive cytotoxic agents. These are the self-explanatory for the gametes damage or the multiplying cells. Thank you very much. I will just look at the chat. A Young syndrome, somebody asked what is in the chat, what is the Young syndrome? So Young syndrome, again, actually it's a syndrome, it will cause the sinusitis and lung bronchiectasis, similar to the cartilaginous syndrome. And it will also cause the problem with this production of bronchiectasis, sinusitis, all these bronchiectasis, pulmonary infections, and reduced production, movement of the sperm or the ciliary glands, cilia in the epididymis, as in the cartilaginous syndrome.